Hello everyone, it's Dove again. I'm getting ready to transplant my tomatoes, and so I thought I would go ahead and make a video and show you guys how to transplant tomatoes into the garden. And I already have it positioned. My cage is right here, it's already in place. And it's usually best if you can put your cages in place just for spacing issues. The stakes, if I put this in after the fact, it wouldn't hurt the root system because the stakes are pretty far away from the roots, but I put them in here just so that I would know exactly where I wanted to put my plants. So all of my tomato cages are in place, and I'll probably make a separate video on another day showing you my cages, but I just wanted to show you the transplant process right now. This is my German pink. It's an heirloom indeterminate tomato, and so I usually just set it in the center and then kind of squish it down so I know where to dig. And take the dirt out. Now normally you plant tomatoes, when you put them in the ground, you bury them up to their first leaves, but since I already had potted up I repotted the tomatoes from a soil-based mixture to that new potting mixture that I created, and so when I did that I already buried it up to its first leaves there. So I don't actually need to go any deeper than that because it's already there. So I'm just going to put it, basically the soil line in here level with this soil line. And whenever I'm making transplants of pretty much any type, I use this granular mycorrhiza, and it is the beneficial microorganisms that work in symbiosis with the plants, and you have to make sure it comes in contact with the roots. So I dig the hole and I make sure it's right where I want it to be, as far as depth goes, and then I sprinkle this in to the bottom of the hole because you have to make sure it comes in contact with the roots. And then you turn your pot upside down. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to have to stick him down in the hole so you can see it because I know the camera's kind of low. And you put your fingers on either side of the stem, just like that. And then you turn it over, and you just kind of lightly squeeze the container, and that should be enough, just squeezing the sides. If it's not, you just tap on the bottom lightly. But mine just dropped out, so I didn't even need to tap on the bottom. And you can probably see it's just a little tiny bit root bound. It's actually not even root bound. This wouldn't even be considered root bound. So I don't need to tease out the roots. I don't need to do anything except just be really careful when I'm turning it over. I'll set it down in that hole, and then I'm going to backfill it. And this is a nice big plant that makes like 1 to 2 pound tomatoes, big beefsteak tomatoes. So hopefully it does well. Well, hopefully all my plants do well. And then you're just going to take the soil and lightly press down. You don't have to press real hard, but if your soil is nice and loamy, you don't have to worry about pushing it down too much because you probably are not going to cause any problems. But because this is a raised bed, it's really loose and nice and loamy. But if I was doing this in the ground, then I may not press it down too much because you don't want to suffocate it or anything, but you want to make sure that there are no air pockets in there. Excuse me. So that's one of them. I think I have time to show you the other one. This cage was actually really easy to plant in, but the next one is actually really hard. Okay. Yeah, and I'm going to have to make noise now because I'm going to move the camera, and that's always really noisy, so bear with me. here is my veggie cage, and it's a spiral ring. I'll show you what it looks like in another video. But again, I had to put that stake in place and put that ring around there, well, just so I would know where to plant it. The ring itself would not damage the roots or anything if put in after the fact, but because I'm doing square foot gardening, I have these spaced at very specific intervals, and so I put the rings and the cages in just so I know exactly where I want to put the tomato plant. So again, I've got it right here in the center, and this wire here is just a cable that's connecting both sides of my raised bed, so because they're pretty tall raised beds and we don't want them to start spreading over time because of the soil, and so we put cables in there to keep it taut. And like I said, this is a really tight space. My camera just fell. Yeah, it's smushing down in the dirt. There we go. That's a little bit more stable. Sorry about that. Blooper again. Imagine that. And so this is really awkward to do because this cage is in place. It's called a veggie cage, but it's actually just a big ring, you know. But like I said, I need it there for my placement, and so even though it's hard to work with it this way, it's probably better in the long run, just so that I'm getting the plant right where I want it. And I'm going to do a sprinkle of the mycorrhiza. And it's a pretty big canister, so I'm pretty liberal with it, you know. You don't have to be. You can just follow the directions or whatever. Again, you put your fingers on either side of the plant to support it when you turn it over. And I'm working in really, really close quarters here. I'm just squeezing the cup on the sides to loosen it. And as you can tell, it's pretty dim out here, and that's because this is right before nightfall, and this is the best time to transplant your seedlings and your mature seedlings, because you want to give it plenty of opportunity to sit here and rest all night before that sun comes beating down on it, especially right now, because today it was so hot. All my plants were wilting, and they all had water, but they were very hot, and the sun was beating down on them. It was like 105 degrees in the shade today, so none of them were happy. Not a one of them. Even the peppers that are supposed to be sun-loving and heat-loving, they were all wilting. So it's been rough around here, and it's supposed to be like that all weekend, I guess. And I'm a little afraid to do this because of what the temperature is going to be like tomorrow. But these guys needed potted out and planted out, you know, before today. And today was just the first opportunity I had to do it. So I don't really have a choice. I can go through here and I can shade them tomorrow by putting some burlap over the frames or something. But hopefully I won't have to do that. Okay, I got a couple more minutes. So, like on all my other plants, after I put them in, I will go through and I'll put my coconut coir mulch right around the plant, and I'll bring it in close to the stem, but I'll try not to touch the stem. You know, I'll try to keep it a little bit away from the stem. And then, of course, after you transplant anything into the ground, you want to water it in well. So after I turn the camera off, I'm going to go in and, well, I have 3 more tomatoes to plant, so I'll plant those, and then I will go in and water them all. And then I have 10 pepper plants to plant out tonight too, if I can get it before the sun goes down all the way. Okay, so that's it. Oh, I forgot to tell you, this is a Pantano Romanesco. This is an Italian heirloom. It's a big beefsteak and it doesn't have hardly any seeds, so it would be good for eating fresh as a slicer and also for canning because there's hardly any seeds. And I've got 3 of these big boys and I cannot wait until they start to make beautiful, luscious tomatoes. And if they don't, I'm going to be really upset. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Take care.